and today we're outside the courthouse awaiting the decision for Fletcher v. Peck. And in just a few moments, John Marshall, the Supreme Court Justice, is going to tell us who won the court case. But before we can find out who won, let's go back in time and look at some of the details and the events that led up to this court case. Following the Treaty of Paris ending the American Revolution, Georgia claimed possession to the Yazoo lands, a 35 million acre region of Indian Reserve, west of its own territory. In 1795, the Georgia state legislature divided the land into 4 tracts. The state then sold the tracts to 4 separate land development companies, known as the Yazoo Land Act of 1795. However, it was revealed the Yazoo Land Act had been approved in return for bribes. Voters were furious and rejected most of the incumbents in the next election, and the new legislature repealed the law and voided transactions made under it. Now, a man by the name of John Peck bought some of the land from the Georgia state legislature in the year 1800.
Hello, are you John Peck?
Yes.
Are you the man that's interested in buying the Yazoo Land Act of 1795? So here are some details about this act. I just need you to sign here, here. Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
3 years later, in 1803, John Peck sold 13,000 acres of the land that he bought from the Georgia state legislature to Robert Fletcher.
Hey sir, my name is Peck.
Hello, thank you. My name is Fletcher.
Okay, so this is a land grant right here. It's going to cost you $3,000. There's going to be about 13,000 acres. Is that good?
Yep.
So I need you to sign right here, right here, right there. Thank you.
Thank you.
After some time passed, Fletcher realized there was something fishy about this sale.
Oh, Jesus! The land is void? The Georgia state legislature seems to have repealed the land in 1796.
Fletcher was furious and brought the matter to the circuit court.
Hi. A man under the name of John Peck has sold me land that is invalid and is declared void. He promised me that the land was under good title.
The circuit court took up the court case and scheduled a hearing. Arguments and emotions were thrown out from both sides, but eventually, to Fletcher's disappointment, the court case ruled in favor of John Peck. This surely angered Fletcher, but Fletcher was not ready to give up now.
Wait! I think I can win. Let's take this to the Supreme Court.
Finally, the case was heard in front of the Supreme Court. During the case, Fletcher's main arguments were: first, that Georgia never had title to the land and thus could not transfer it to Peck. Second, that the sale in 1795 from Georgia to Peck was not valid because of fraud on part of Peck in obtaining the land. And lastly, Fletcher argued that the sale from Peck to himself was not valid because Georgia state legislature had repealed the act and still gave Peck title to the land. In response, Peck argued 3 key points during his case. First, that state constitutions gave Georgia title to the land of the Yazoo Act. Second, that a legislative act gave Georgia all jurisdiction and territorial rights. Lastly, he argued that Georgia was legally empowered to sell the land and all the transactions in the case were legal. And now the day is finally here, the day of the decision, and it has almost been forever for Robert Fletcher and John Peck. John Marshall has now made his decision.
The Supreme Court, in a 4-1 decision, ruled that Georgia had violated the contract clause of the Constitution.
which states in Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 of the Constitution, that contracts cannot be invalidated even if illegally secured. When Georgia repealed the grants to land that Peck bought and then sold to Fletcher, we reject Fletcher's claim that Georgia has the sovereign power as a representative of the people to repeal this act of public corruption. We believe that Peck was an innocent third party who had entered into two valid contracts. First, when he paid for the land from the original deal, and second, when he sold the land to Fletcher. Georgia was not allowed to repeal the act because doing so would be unconstitutional under the contract clause. Peck thus had no fault in the original fraud that the Georgia legislature sought to undo in its repeal. Fletcher's suit against Peck is now dismissed, and Georgia's law repealing the grants is officially struck down. This court is now adjourned.
All of you just saw this today. The decision has been announced, and this is going to be the first Supreme Court ruling that has ruled a state law unconstitutional. Well, I personally think that this is going to create a growing precedent for the sanctity of legal contracts. And this is Rohan Javedi signing off with Yazoo.